Hi everyone. So once again, this is Niran from Marshall's Wide Immigration Services. As we promised, we are coming to you from another episode with the recent IRCC changes with regard to spouse open work permits. We have been getting many inquiries on how to get the work permit extensions done by 21st of January 2025. So unfortunately, with the limited capacity, we can only do certain applications, and then the consultations also there are limited slots available. So with that, we thought as a part of our social responsibility, because in this hour of need, we will do a video series like a video where we will guide you through on how to apply for spouse open work permit. Right, so because like many people offered us like money to do it, but unfortunately it's not about money. It's all about time, right? So we want to help you as much as possible, but unfortunately the IRCC only gave like 7 days, so which is practically impossible to cater all of you. So because of that, we decided that we will do a detailed video series on how to write the letters and how to fill the forms and what documents needs to be included and all that. So hope you will enjoy this. So without wasting any time, let me share my screen and show you what to do. Right. So we'll start with the announcement itself. Right. So as you know, on January 14, 2025, IRCC said that they are going to limit the spouse open work permit for certain temporary foreign residents. So as you know now, come January 21st, 2025, only tier 01 and certain exempted tiers 2 or 3 occupations will be entitled to get the spouse open work permits. So with that, as you know, like the lot of issues came because of the fact that many people, especially people who graduated recently and the people who have applied before and they have not received their postgraduate work permits, they have started working but have not received the salary slips yet, and there are like some people, they are waiting for their SOWP exam or the language test exam. So a lot of issues. So how to navigate this is a very important thing. So here there are two things. First one, people ask like what do I statutorily need to get the extension done? So the statutory requirements right now is you should be having a postgraduate work permit as the principal applicant. Then you should have a job right now, and then that ideally the people ask whether it can be full-time or part-time. Ideally it's a full-time job, but we have seen the IRCC accept few part-time jobs as well. And on top of that, we need to attach 3 salary slips. So we need to attach an employment confirmation letter with duties for the principal applicant along with 3 salary slips. So now the another question that a lot of people ask, okay, what is the current situation? Yeah, like the current situation, which tiers can apply? The good part about that is like the current situation, because of the temporary public policy which started back in 2023 January 30th, all tiers are eligible. That's the current situation. So let's dive into this. So if I'll take you a few links, right? So then you would understand that when it comes to the spouse open work permits, now they have like made a change to this particular web page where they have mentioned as of January 1st, 2025, at 5 UTC, the eligibility requirements will change for open work permits for family members of workers. So that means whoever apply after UTC 5 to January 21st, 2025 will not be eligible to process the applications under the current rule or the previous eligibility criteria, because it is clearly mentioned here applications received before January 21st, 2025 will be processed under previous eligibility criteria. So now the another question people ask like okay, how much time do I have? Here it is mentioned UTC 5. UTC 5 means as you know, the IRCC use the UTC time. So I'm in Toronto, Ontario. So let's check the UTC time now, right? So UTC time is Right. So it's 12:52. My clock is 7:52 p.m. Right. So we are like in Toronto, we are 5 hours behind UTC time. So ideally, you should lodge your application according to this. Like we can lodge until the 12 midnight on 20th. But I'm saying you don't take that risk because we don't know what time frame they're going to go with, because normally IRCC use UTC time. So that means if you're looking in Toronto, if you're staying in Toronto, you have to apply, like Ontario, you have to apply by 7 p.m. 20th Monday. If you're staying in British Columbia, you're looking at 4 p.m. on 20th Monday. So I know like this might give you a chance to apply up until midnight in Toronto, but don't take that risk. Just apply at least by 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right. So now let's see the context right now to understand the we will be able to understand a few right? So the few scenarios that happened previously, that will tell us like which tiers that can happen apply for spouse open work permit. So this all started with the temporary public policy announced by IRCC, stating that the employers and temporary workers to benefit from family work permits to address labor shortages. So where December 2nd, 2022, they allowed the low skill, like tier 4-5 categories also to do like apply the members of the family members to receive a spouse open work permit. So with that is the current law. So when is this expiring? So if you see here, the ministerial note, right? So here it's mentioned that, let me find that out for you. Right. So this phase was implemented on January 30th. So ideally, this is for 2 years. So that means 2023 January 30th. And then this should be continued up until 2025 January 30th. But now they came up with a new rule. So that means the new rule is coming into play on January 21st, 2025. So as of now, all tier categories are eligible. That's the current law, which will change on 21st January 2025. So as of now, we can every tier category is eligible to apply for spouse open work permit as long as we fulfill the requirements. Right. So now a lot of the $1,000,000 question is, how do I go about making this application? So to apply for spouse open work permit, you can create your own GC key, right? So we as authorized representative, we have our own portal, so that will be different from your portal, but you can just create a GC key account. And let me show you the files that you need to apply for a spouse open work permit. So the first file and the most important one is the IMM 5710. So the IMM 5710 is the application that you need to fill to apply for a work permit inside Canada. So let me take you through this so you will be able to understand. First question that they ask is their UCI. The UCI, so let me show you here. Right, so the UCI can be found in most of your IRCC issued documents. So for an instance, let's say your work permit, right? So then in your work permit, you should be able to locate your UCI right there, right? Ensure that you type your UCI 100% correct. Don't make a mistake, because this form will map your file, right? So your existing record will be mapped using UCI. So make sure you put the correct UCI. Then I want service, and you can have either select in English or French. In most cases it's English. So then here we have to select whether apply for work permit with the same employer. So that means if you are already having a spouse open work permit and you're going to extend it, then you can use you can take this, and as most of the cases it will be applicable because you are going for an extension. But in any case, like if it is the first application, like let's say you didn't come to Canada while your spouse is studying and this is the first time you're applying, then you are under visitor visa and you want to apply for a work permit for the first time, you can use this tick. But in most cases, this is what will apply. So then you have to give a name as per the passport and your last name or the family name. Then if you have not used previous names, you can select no. If it is yes, you can select yes. Then your sex, then your date of birth, then the place of birth which can be found in your passport, then the country. Then the question here they ask is current country or territory of residence. So ideally, you're going for an extension. So that means you are in Canada. Then your status, ideally, it can be worker, it can be a visitor, but in most cases, worker. So from and to dates, very important. So we have to find this from and to dates is the from and to dates can be found in your work permit, right? So right here, it's the issue date and the expiry date. So I'm using an old one, so it is already expired. But in your case, you should be having an unexpired one. So just put the from and to date based on your work permit. So then previous countries or residence, if it is not applicable, just put no. Then your marriage details like the spouse name and the date of marriage. And if you have been previously married, just include your details here. If not, just select no. Then the native language, it can be Tamil, it can be Sinhalese, it can be any language, whatever your native language. Then are you able to communicate in English or French? You can select English or French. Then your passport number, then the country of issue, then the issue date and the expiry date, then your national ID number, which is there in your passport, or like the national ID number. So then the issue country, then if there is an issue date and expiry date, you can fill that accordingly. Then you have to fill the address. This is very, very important because remember, you will get your work permit by post. You will get the in Canada approval letter in your GC key, but the actual work permit will come via post. So therefore, it's very important that you double check the address. Then you can put your telephone numbers and then your email. Then here they ask the date and place of your original entry to Canada. So it's very important that you fill this correctly, right? So that will be there in your initial permit, right? So initial work permit. Then it will ask for your document number again, very important, very important. So where to find this document number is you can select here. So the document number will be given here. So it starts with you for work permits. So you have to carefully type the document number as it is mentioned in your work permit, right? So let's proceed further. Now here they will ask like what kind of a work permit are you applying for? So in most cases, we are applying for open work permit. So you can leave this whole area blank, right? Even though you are doing a job, we are looking for an open work permit. We are not looking for a closed work permit that is confined to a particular employer. So in this case, you can keep this all these fields blank, but the duration. Very important, the duration. So if your spouse already having a work permit, postgraduate work permit, your to date will be the spouse postgraduate work permit expiry date. If your spouse does not have a work permit, so then what you can do is you just put today's date and put 3 years, because once they process the spouse postgraduate work permit, your application will be limited to that period. So if your spouse already has a postgraduate work permit, go with that date. If you doesn't have postgraduate work permit, if your spouse doesn't have a postgraduate work permit, just go with 3 years. Then you include your the education, employment, and if you're currently employed, just leave blank here. All right. So then once you come down, just answer the statutory questions. All right. So then you put whatever that is relevant, and more importantly, they ask here, have you previously applied to remain in Canada? Which is yes, because you are applying for an extension. So just provide your previous application details. You can mention my open work permit application submitted outside Canada was approved and I was issued a current work permit. Just give your particulars, the UCI and the document number. Right. So when you come down, then you have to click this box. Very important. Do you consent to be contacted by IRCC or an organization at IRCC request in future? So you can select yes, then put the date. Then very important that you put the signature in the here, like you do not take a printout and sign. This is in soft copy. You do not. This is an electronic form. So you just type your name and click validate. So as soon as you click validate, if you have filled everything, you will get a prompt message like this. You'll stating that validation completed successfully. Just click OK. So once you scroll down, you should be able to see the barcodes. And on top, you should be able to see that validated is changed to yes. Right? So this is very simple form. It's just that you have to ensure that you put your UCI document number and relevant other particulars accurately. So I would have like normally when we are doing like we will go through the 4 eyes, like that means like one person is checking and the final check will be done by me. So in that case, we know that everything is accurate. So you can practice the same at home. If one party is like, let's say the husband is filling the application and wife can do the checking. So likewise, you have to ensure that it is 100% accurate. Right. So then the next document is right. So is your passport. It's very important, right? So so for the passport, what we have decided is you can use a template like this, right? So you have to include your passport bio page and the countries allowed, right? So then the Canadian visa stamp, if which is there in your passport, and your current work permit, right? And if you previously had a work permit where you went through an extension, you can attach your previous work permit as well. So if it is not applicable, just take this out and just save this Word to PDF and merge with these relevant documents and submit to the passport field. Very simple. It's very important that you attach your passport and Canadian visa stamp and the current work permit. Right. So then the next one. Right. So the digital photo, right? So then you have to attach a digital photo, right? So it's just as for the IRCC standards, right? So just attach a digital photo, nothing that you have to do no alterations, nothing, just attach the digital photo as per the specifications. Then the most important one is the client information section. Client information section is the heart of this application. So if you do not get that right, then your application can be denied. Right. So again, we have created a table of contents where you can closely look into. Right. So this ideally this is what it should look like. So the first you have to mention the request letter, then the right. So here I think applicant's request letter of explanation. We can attach the applicant's spouse request letter. Sorry. Just attach applicant spouse request letter. Right. Then the letter of explanation, and I'll show you how to write the letter of explanation. And then your current work permit, important again, the initial work permit if applicable. Then the spouse postgraduate work permit. So if your spouse already received a postgraduate work permit, just attach that. In case your spouse has not received a postgraduate work permit, which is not an ideal scenario, but if you have no option but to apply, then make sure that you attach a spouse postgraduate work permit submission confirmation and the PGWP extension letter, the work authorization letter, which you typically get it in a couple of days time from the application. So make sure you attach both of them if you do not have the postgraduate work permit. Then the most important document, applicant spouse current letter of employment confirmation with duties, very important. So this one should match with the IRCC standard. So it should mention your the spouse full name and the capacity in he or she is working and the how many hours and the salary and more importantly job duties. If the job duties are not there, then IRCC can deny your application. So make sure that you include your job duties. Then if you have a job offer, just attach that. Again, you have to mention the important one is like the recent salary slips. So it's very important, right? So some people think that I didn't attach salary slips and my application was approved, so I don't think that is necessary. No, that's not the case. Let me show you a refusal here, right? So here, read this part, right? IRCC clearly says that, right? Here, you have not provided sufficient evidence to prove that your spouse is currently employed in Canada. You may be eligible to reapply for a work permit if you are able to provide proof that your spouse is currently employed in Canada which should include a letter from your spouse employer stating his or her job title, including the National Occupation Classification Code, duties and salary, right? So if the NOC, if the employer is refusing to issue the NOC, some employers do, make sure that you have duties which is matching with the NOC duties. Ideally, you should get with the NOC, but if you're unable to get it, that's not fatal. It's just you have to ensure that the duties are sufficient enough to match with a particular NOC, especially if you're looking at tier 0, 1, or like the any high skilled occupations. It's very, very important. I'm not saying that it's not important for tier 4, 5, but the tier 4, 5, the skill level, the requirement is slightly less than the high skilled occupations. So then here, you must also provide your spouse 3 most recent salary slips. So it's very important you provide that as well, right? So then, if you have like your spouse letter of completion and transcripts, I know it is not relevant to this application, but as a like matter of good practice, we just attach the transcripts and the letter of completion and certificate if available, just to ensure that we can prove that the IRCC, that the postgraduate work permit was taken based on successful completion of an academic credential in Canada. So now, the most important part, how to write these letters, how to write the applicant's request letter, applicant's spouse request letter, letter of explanation, what should we include there? So let's dig deep, right? So first one, here the letter that we're going to write will depend on the tier category, right? So right now we like the segregation is between high skill, low skill. High skill is tier 0, 1, 2, 3. Low skill is tier 4, 5, right? So first you can mention your name and address, then this address, like typically a lot of people ask this question. So how to find the correct address to to write to IRCC. I'll take this opportunity to show you how to find this address, not only in the temporary permits, but also in all your correspondence. It's very simple. So you go to Google, just type, go to Google, just type IRCC officers address in Canada, right? So then you will be directed to this page, right? So then you have to select whatever the respective category that you are applying for. Right now we are going for work permits, right? So it is mentioned in CPC Edmonton, right? So work permits and study permits. So you go to Edmonton CPC mailing address, right? So then it'll ask a couple of questions. Then we select an application. Then they ask whether we have to mention temporary residence. So we go here, then they will ask whether it's visit, study, work, on work and study. In this case, it's work. So you select that. Then here, based on whether you are applying for the first time or whether you're applying for an extension, in most cases it's extension. So you select this, then you will be able to get this address. It's pretty simple. Just copy and paste. That's it. Right. So let's go back to our letter. Right. So then you have to mention your UCI. This is the applicant, right? This is the applicant's letter, right? Applicant's request letter. That means the spouse open work permit holder and the applicant who's willing to extend the open work permit, not the postgraduate work permit. So then you have to write like simple. You don't have to copy this word to word. You can write on your own language. But these like particulars, it's better that if you can include. Right. So yeah, you can mention I'm writing to request for an extension of my work permit, which is linked to my spouse. You can mention the spouse name, already approved postgraduate work permit, provide the spouse UCI and the document number, right? Then you can mention she successfully concluded whatever the program, and then we can mention the supporting documents include letter of completion and the transcript attached. And following her program, she was issued a 3-year postgraduate work permit in accordance with the IRCC guidelines. So if your spouse already has a postgraduate work permit, this is what you should write. In case, let's say your spouse application is still pending, so what you have to mention, you have to, instead of using the word already approved, right? So you have to mention already applied postgraduate work permit. So in that case, you have to provide the UCI, and the application number of the spouse postgraduate work permit. And then you have to mention that you have attached that the submission confirmation and the PGWP XT letter, the work authorization letter that you have attached. In case if you have the PGWP, just attach the PGWP. Right. So this is the most important when it comes to the dealing with these tier categories, right? So in this case, as I said, it's a tier skilled one. So we are going by. My wife is currently employed as an accountant at Costco on a full-time permanent basis. And the duties she performs, so we can mention what duties she performs under the said role of an accountant falls under the National Occupation Classification Skill Category 1. This put the no code. Therefore, as per the IRCC guidelines and under the LMIA exemption code C41, this is very important. So we are telling the immigration officer we know what the rule is. Right? So in that case, we are providing the statutory ground on which we are making the application. So again, I'll take this opportunity to show you how to find these exemption codes. Right? It's pretty simple. Just go to Google again, LMIA exemption codes. Right? So then the labor market exemption, impact assessment exemption codes, you'll be taken into this, right? So you see all the codes. So what is relevant to you is C47 if you're a C41 if you're a skilled employee, if your spouse is a skilled employee. So it will be here, right there, right? As you can read, spouses or common law partners of high skilled workers. So tier 0 through 3. So if you are under this is the exemption code that you need to rely on. So if you need further information, just click on this. Then you will be able to copy paste the C41 and then click on this. Family members of foreign national authorized to work in a high skill, sorry, not the bottom one, the top one. Family members of foreign national authorized to work in high skill, tier 0, 1, 2, 3, that is C41. So you just select that. And then if you are in low skill, you have to go by this, the exemption code, which is C47. So let's go back to our letter. So we can copy paste that. We can mention under LMI exemption code C41 as for the section 205 subsection C of the IRPR. And you put the link as well, so they can check. So if you click on this link, you will be directed to the web page that we discussed previously, where they have segregated high skill, low skill, and the requirements. So we are providing the information to the IRCC officer stating that we are under this no code, so we are entitled. So we just mentioned, therefore, I would like to request the extension of my open work permit equally to my spouse postgraduate work permit duration. And you can write why each other's presence is important and how as a family why you need to stay together and all that. So it's like I've provided very brief explanations. So normally for our clients we write like something similar. It depends on the client's case. So the need not to be a 3-4 page document. It's just that you have to provide why you need each other's presence, like in short and simple language, right? So then in the tier the skill category, tier 0, 1, 2, 3, then we have to write an explanation, letter of request from the spouse side as well, because the spouse postgraduate work permit is our eligibility criteria. So you put the spouse name, address, then you put the address that we found from the website, and then the letter of explanation of spouse visa extension. You can mention spouse open work permit extension as well. Open work permit extension. And I'm writing to express my full support for my spouse, to mention the name and the application to extend his open work permit. So you can mention his UCI and the current document number. So then you can mention your details as the PGWP holder. You can mention your name and have recently completed 2-year whatever the program and have been granted a postgraduate work permit. Again, if you have the postgraduate work permit, provide the UCI and the doc number. If you do not have, provide the UCI and the application number and mention that you have attached the submission confirmation and PGWP EXT letter. Right. So then you can mention that it's the same thing. It's like it's from the spouse perspective. So you're writing, I'm currently employed as an accountant. So you can, I think there is an additional space here. Just correct this. Right. So I'm currently employed as an accountant at Costco on a full-time basis, and the duties I perform under the said role of accountant falls under National Occupation Classification, just the similar thing, right? So just you have to mention C41, and then again you have to write why you need your spouse to stay with you from the perspective of the PGWP holder. So then once you come down, so you can provide a brief table on your particulars, like your name, the address, your status in Canada. If you're a postgraduate work permit holder, you can mention that details, and you can, if you have already applied, you can mention maintain status within brackets postgraduate work permit, and provide the application details here and the spouse details with the name and the UCI and the document number. So in that way, that will make life much more easier for immigration officer. So they can simply find your application and do the necessary things from their end. Then you have to write a letter of explanation. So the letter of explanation, you can write anything you want. For an instance, now, like I today, like I was as I said, I cannot speak to like many people, but I was happy to speak with 5-10 people, maybe even more. So they had a lot of issues. Like one person they said they don't have SOWP result yet, but they are not sure that they are going to find a job of on tier 01 or the exceptionate ones from the tier 2 or 3. So they said, okay, they have no option but to take a risk and apply without SOWP. Do I recommend that? Of course not. But if they do not have an option, right, so they have to try their luck, right? So because like with the limited time available, if they think they cannot apply, then you are leaving the matter in the hands of the immigration officer by doing so. So once you complete the requirements, you have to send through a web form. It's at the discretion of the immigration officer to consider that or not. But you should not let your status expire. So you have to make some sort of an application. So then in that way you can at least continue to work, and you can comply with the rules, right? So even though the statutory requirements you are not fulfilling at the time of the application, you can support through a web form, and hopefully the immigration officer will be considerate and will consider your web form documents. So here you can mention anything you want, right? So the letter of explanation, that is particularly important to your application. If you do not have 3 salary slips, if you do not have language test, right? So you can include that, or you can decide not to include it in the letter of explanation, right? So that it's up to you, right? So normally if we don't have anything like some documents which we will not include in a letter of explanation, we will just let it be, and we will provide through a web form, right? So here what we can mention, like the most important part, right? So the expiry date of the national ID number is, like most cases in Sri Lankan IDs, we don't have it. So you can mention that. And then you have to mention this one. So the duration of the expected employment. Remember that we decided that we do have two scenarios. If your spouse has a PGWP, then you go with the PGWP date. And if your spouse does not have a PGWP, then you have to go with the 3 years. So therefore you have to write accordingly. So in case of spouse has a PGWP, you have to mention, I'm applying for Spousal Open Work Permit extension with regards to my spouse, already approved postgraduate work permit. Then the particulars, the duration of my work permit will be equal to my spouse postgraduate work permit duration. Hence, I'm expecting the same duration as her work permit, which is until whatever the date. But if your spouse does not have, you have to alter this paragraph. So you have to mention, I'm applying for spouse open work permit extension with regard to my spouse name, already applied postgraduate work permit. Then again, UCI and the application number. The duration of my work permit will be equal to my spouse postgraduate work permit duration. Since my spouse postgraduate work permit is not issued yet, I have included 3 years from the application date. date. So therefore, kindly issue me a spouse open work permit in compliance with the IRCC standard, and which is you can mention with the same duration of your spouse postgraduate work permit. Right. So then you can mention few additional documents that you're going to bring it to notice, like the passport, education, and CV, like resume. So you provide the additional documents, right? So you can mention that as well. Right. So now we discussed about the tier 0, 1, 2, 3, or the high skilled ones. Now let's get into tier 4, 5. Right. So tier 4, 5, these details remain absolutely the same. The only part that they change is here. Right here, you have to mention my spouse is working like whatever the hours, right? So on average at whatever the place, right? Then mention therefore I'm eligible to apply for spouse open work permit. Family members, then you have to mention tier 4, 5. Remember, notice that here we have changed the exemption code because it is not C41, it is C47. Then we are putting the link for the IRCC officer to check, right? So this is the link that so let me copy paste this link. So then, right, so here, right, sorry. Right. So then this is the link that we are directing them to the temporary public policy, right? So the temporary public policy that allow the applicants to apply tier 4, 5 applicants to apply for the spouse open work permit. So we will include that in the letter itself, so they can read it. Again, you can write the particulars. And here, since we the IRCC is changing the rules, we are going with a note. So we'll just mention, please note that I am applying for my spouse open work permit, whatever the date, and ideally it's before 21st, not ideally, definitely it has to be before 21st, right? So then permit on 19th January 2025. Therefore, as for the IRCC guidelines, my application should be processed under old laws, as my application was submitted before 21st January 2025 as confirmed by the below screenshot. So you can put a screenshot here as well. So then just to bring it to your notice that you are applying before January 21st, right? So the politely you have to bring it to their notice, right? So just be very careful with the language that you use. Politely bring it to a notice, right? So then in that case, they will like chances of they missing it is very less. Right. So then when it comes to the spouse letter, again, it will be the similar thing, but here again, we have to change according to the C47 code, and we are including the temporary public policy link as well. So in that way, IRCC officer will not miss it. So the letter of explanation for this unskilled category, sorry, not unskilled, low skill, sorry. So the low skill category will remain the same. So you can include whatever you wish with the letter of the explanation, and then you follow this template as well. Right. So that's the most important document, client information, and those are the letters that you have to write. Right. So unfortunately, we would love to. I mean, I checked the legality of checking these, sending these drafts, but unfortunately, we are not supposed to do that because these have been created for the clients. So once we create these documents for clients, it becomes client's property, not our property. So unfortunately, we cannot share the drafts. So, but in your video, so I hope that I have provided reasonable insights as to write those. Like, just you have to get the essence of this and write in your own language. Just ensure that you mention the tier code and the which exemption code you are relying on. And if you're relying on tier 4, 5, please ensure that you go for the temporary public policy. You have to mention that. And if you're going for tier 2, 3, 4, 5, all 4 tiers, right? Because we never know which category, which tier occupations in 2, 3 will be exempted from this. So better include this paragraph and this screenshot, right? The tier 2, 3, 4, 5, everybody can include this paragraph and the screenshot. It's very important. All right. So now we are done with the client information section. So again, I just want to take you through, right? So the applicant's request letter, spouse request letter, letter of explanation, applicant's current work permit, initial work permit, if applicable, spouse postgraduate work permit, or the application submission as applicable. Then most important document, job letter with duties. And if there is a job offer, then the recent pay stub, very important. Then the applicant spouse letter of completion and transcript if available. And most cases it is available. So therefore just attach those as well. So it's very important that we provide this information. So these are like few few refusals that we have seen in the social media. So here they are mentioned, like here, you have not provided sufficient evidence to prove that your spouse is employed in occupation that falls within the National Occupation Classification skill level 0AB. You may be eligible to reapply for a work permit if you're able to provide that. So even though they are coming with this excuse, right? So we need not, as of now, this is actually a letter received very recently, like a couple of months ago, right? So it's a mistake from the immigration officer, to be quite honest, because like the old tiers can apply right now, but that doesn't mean that we can get away without providing documents. Right now the tier doesn't matter, but then the requirements, job letter with duties applicable, with all the requirements, salary slips, and then if you have a job offer, just provide that. So all those documents needs to be provided irrespective of the tier, right? So I'll show you a scenario where like we have done many applications for our clients, but we have never had in Canada spouse open permit refusal. But one fine day on July 9th, we applied for this client, and the application was refused on November 28th, 2024. We were surprised because we have always, because this was a tier 4, I think she was a food counter attendant. So the tier 5, right? So the IRCC said that it is only available for tier 0AB. Then we counter argued that is not the case. The temporary public policy is there, right? So we brought it to their notice, and then we send a web form and ask for reconsideration, provided the reasons and provided the statutory grounds. Then IRCC overturned the decision today, right? So as of now, tier 0, tier 0 to 5, everybody can apply for spouse open work permit. So sometimes immigration officers can make mistakes as well. In this case, they have done it, but they have rectified and they have provided the in Canada approval letter. So we provided them the information that I discussed, right? So the temporary public policy, it's still valid. It's going to come come to an end by January 30th, but because of the new law, it will supersede the previous one. So therefore, it'll come to an end on January 21st. So as of now, this applicant was eligible, and the IRCC rightly overturned the decision, and we should thank you for them and for doing that, because so I just want to show it to you, right? So if you get some sort of a rejection, if you are eligible and if you are provided all the documents, why we were able to fight in this case, because we were pretty confident that we provided all the documents, right? So if the IRCC, the reconsiderations will not happen if they have not made a mistake. In this case, they have admitted they made a mistake, so they reinstated this person's application, the work permit, and they issued an in Canada approval letter today on January 17th. So the temporary public policy is, as of now, is on. So now let's move to our next set of documents, right? So then the next one is the marriage certificate. Very, very important. Very important. If you do not provide a marriage certificate and prove the relationship between you and the PGWP holder, IRCC immigration officer has no option but to refuse. So provide the translated marriage certificate as well as the original. So some gurus in social media and so on said, I only provided translated, they never asked for original. You don't have to know. Don't take a risk. This is very important. In all documents where the original is not in English or French, you have to provide the original and the translation. So don't take a risk to provide both translated marriage certificate and original marriage certificate, so you cannot go wrong. Right. So again, you can make this cover page, just attach the translated marriage certificate and original, the marriage certificate, just merge it and to one file and upload it. Simple. So then the next document is the birth certificate, which is not that important. If you want to avoid, you can avoid, but if you want to include, again, you can just include that as well. So the just attach the translated birth certificate as well as the original birth certificate, right? So in case if it is not in Sinhala, and if it is not in English or French, you have to attach that. Right. So then the education, again, it's a very important document because we are trying to establish the immigration officer that we are going to contribute to the country's success as a spouse open work permit holder. I came across a scenario where the application was rejected, and then the master's degree holder did not attach his degree certificate and transcript. That's fatal. Why would you do that? So don't take that risk. If you have the education credentials, go ahead and attach. If you don't worry. That's not a problem. But we have to provide as much information as possible to ensure that the IRCC officer gets the feeling that we are going to make the economic contributions to this country in this hour of need. It's very important that we provide those information to establish that we are going to make significant contributions to the country's economy. So the fact that we are educated is a positive, it's not a negative. So if you have your education certificates, please attach. Use the template, just put the name, education qualifications, and the documents included. Just list whatever you have. A-level, O-level, bachelor's certificate, diplomas, masters, PhDs, that doesn't matter. Just put a comprehensive document and just upload it. So then the IRCC officer will consider that. Then, right. So then again, the medical, right? So again, some people have go through without attaching the medical, but again, don't take a risk. You do not have to take a medical test again, because there is a temporary public policy. Again, I'll take you through that. So just copy this, right? So all these links that we are using will be, I'll include that in the description link, so you can use it, right? So you don't have to worry, right? So I'll include those in the description link. So just copy this and check the medical exemption as well. So we'll paste it here. Right. So here it clearly says eligible low-risk applicants to continue benefiting from the streamlined immigration medical examination. So this means you do not have to, this policy is valid till October 5th, 2029. And this exemption applies for new or pending application for permanent or temporary residence or permanent residence within Canada. So since you're making for an extension application from inside Canada as a temporary resident, then this exemption applies to you. So you just need not to do the medical, but write a cover letter like this, right? So you can mention your name, proof of upfront medical examination. The applicant is exempted from doing another medical exam based on the streamlining immigration medical examination requirement for eligible applicants. Then the link, I have attached the previous medical examination done within last 3 years, whatever the years it has, just mentioned. So then you have to mention the sample. I have given a sample. This is a document normally that you get from the hospital, right? So the IRCC panel physician, like in most cases in Sri Lanka, it's either RCD surgical or IOM, right? So that's the document that you complete after your medical test, and just attach that document. You do not have to do another medical, right? Make sure that you attach this, because any permits that goes beyond 6 months, the medical validation is important. So since you are applying for more than 6 months, it's better you attach your medical. Right. So then the final document, right, is your CV. Again, here we are trying to establish, this is where you tell what you do. Previous, the client information and all that, yeah, you can attach your employment confirmation letter in the client information. No harm in doing that. That's not a problem. But here, this is where you have to attach your documents, right? So your CV, your employment confirmation letter, and salary slips. Yes, statutorily, you need not to demonstrate these, because it's based on the postgraduate work permit holders' employment, but we are just trying to play with the mind of the immigration officer to believe that we are going to make significant contribution to this economy. So that's why it's very important that you attach your particulars and your resume and your current employment confirmation letter with duties, and then recent salary slips, right? So if the duties are not there, that's not fatal. Again, as I said, It's not a statutory requirement, but we want to give a best impression that we can towards the immigration officer to get this right, because in most of the cases, like from the inquiries and all that we heard, like you all are not statutorily fulfilling requirements, right? So then in that case, as you want to make an application and later on add documents, if you want to do that, I mean, you do at your own risk, but you have to make sure that you provide a comprehensive document package with the other documents that is available. So then that might help you down the line in the decision making process. So those are the documents that you need to apply for spouse open work permit. So I hope this video is useful for you guys, right? So once again, sorry we couldn't do it for each and every one of you, and I cannot attend. And it's even like finding it difficult to speak nowadays, like because of the amount of work and the people trying to contact. So I apologize, but it is what it is. We are trying our very best to help the community through this video, so you can make your own documents, right? So that's why I want to do it today on Friday. So then probably you can work on your documents on Saturday. So those are the documents that you need. So then the few questions that I asked in my the YouTube video previous one, there was a question whether they asked like if you do not have the requisite documents, how you go about it. Right? For an instance, let's say you do not have salary slips, you do not have the postgraduate work permit, you do not have SOWP. It depends on the facts and circumstances of each case. For an instance, now let's say you have like the one person called me and said like I am graduating in September 2025. You have absolutely nothing to worry. I mean, you cannot do anything right now. If you're graduating in September 2025, then you just study and ensure that you prepare yourself to secure tier 01 or tier 2, 3 exempted codes, which will be published on 21st January. So you can plan ahead and see what you can do for that. But you cannot apply for PGWP or SOWP now without completing a program. So that's simple as that. So people who have graduated recently, especially people who graduated last December, they are, I think, personally, I believe they are the most hard done, because like they have very limited time for them to find a job and all that. So the few people came to me and said like, my spouse doesn't have a job. So what should I do? So it depends how much time you have in your work permit. And let's say most of the work permits are expiring by 31st March or somewhere there around. So if that is the case, if you feel that you will be able to find your spouse, like the student or the PGWP applicant can find a tier 01 job, then go ahead. You can wait until you find a tier 01 job and then apply before 31st of March. If you're thinking that in this current job market you're not going to do that, then unfortunately then you have to apply with whatever you have, right? And then support with the PGW, with the web form, and hope that IRCC accepts it. So those are the two options that is available. So there are no right or wrong answers, because either way you are taking a risk, right? I know with this change you are in a very difficult situation, but you have to decide what you're going to do. If you think that you're not going to find a tier 01 job, then you have to apply for like tier 4, 5 or whatever the job that you have right now, because like if you wait after 21st, you will not be able to apply with the tier 4, 5. So it's a personal choice, right? So we cannot give a general opinion without knowing the facts and circumstances of each case. But if you're thinking that you're not going to find, you have no option but to go ahead with it. If you think you're going to find, very good. That will be the most safest move that you're going to ever make, because like you're going to meet the statutory requirements. You just have compile everything, language test, salary slips, employment letter, and then apply. But if you're unable to find a job, then you have to make a move, because like you cannot let your work permit expire by probably around March 30th, right? So hopefully this video will be useful to you guys, right? So once again, we apologize as an organization that we were unable to undertake all your applications and provide consultations. Because in this hour of need, we are doing this free of charge for the benefit of the general public, because it's money has absolutely nothing to do with this. It's all about time. So otherwise we would have loved to do more business as an organization. We would like to do more business, but in this case, we have to help each other. So I've not kept anything to myself. These are the templates. Obviously, when we are applying, we are writing a document called representative submission letter, where we will write to the immigration officer directly stating that on what grounds this applicant will be eligible. So that letter is not here, but bearing that, all the documents are here. So hopefully you will use this, and you can do research from your side and include whatever the information that you think fit, and make a solid application, and hopefully your application will get through. Right. So thank you very much once again. Good night, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Take care.